Okay, good afternoon, guys. I hope you're all excited to listen to this very interesting talk. So what we intend to cover today is all about orchestration in the financial world, because I think that we know that one such space where AI has been little resilient to be adopted and something where we are still exploring technologies and exploring ways in which we can really utilize AI in the best way. So today we are here to talk about orchestrating financial document intelligence. So we want to really make sure that you are able to understand how we are ingesting financial documents and how we are making them more intelligent in our production ready systems. And we'll take you through a demo also. And what we intend to cover is Agentic AI workflows, which are built using AWS Bedrock as well as AWS step functions, both of them. And it's both of us presenting. Me, Ekta Shah, I work as an associate data scientist at Morgan Stanley Capital International. It's a fintech-based product firm which works in terms of building indexes which aid equity research firms across the world make smarter decisions. I have about 8 years of experience now working in the AI ML space, and I have worked in a number of companies which are listed above. I'll not keep it very long, I want to keep it short. I also like teaching, so I have been teaching at a number of places. So I'm a visiting faculty at NMIMS Mumbai. Also taught at different places like BITS Pilani, then recently IIM Udaipur and other such MBA colleges in the country. And I am also a data science mentor available on platforms like Preplaced as well as TopMate. And I love solving all kind of ML problems. I'll just hand it over to Shubham, who will introduce himself and then take you forward through the session.
So, hey guys. Hello, perfect. So, hey guys, I'm Shubham Agnihotri. I have 6 years of experience. I work as a senior data scientist at IDFC First Bank in Generative AI Center of Excellence. When I'm not working, pretty much I'll be around working with communities. So I'm associated with AWS Community User Group Mumbai for 1.5 years now. Before that, I was a part of the ML community Google Bangalore. And when I am pretty much not interacting, I'll be somewhere lost in the random forest of Himalayas. I love to travel. Anyways, coming back to the topic. So today, what we'll be covering is what exactly is the problem that we all are trying to solve. How many of you guys are working professionals? Perfect. How many are the AI, ML, DS guys? Few of them, okay. Perfect. So this talk is, by the way, am I audible till the end? Perfect, okay. So this talk is pretty much for everyone, where it'll be technical, whereas it'll be also generic enough for you guys to understand. So we'll be talking about agents. This year is about agents. So many companies, Meta, Hugging Face, everyone releasing their own agents. Then we'll look at what AWS has to provide for the generative AI suite, solving the problem, building the agentic workflow, then how step by step making sure that the problem gets solved, and then how to make it scalable, and finally the impact. So what exactly is the problem statement? How many of you guys have taken a loan? A home loan, personal loan? Right now Amazon's Great Indian Sale is going on, so might have purchased any kind of product on an EMI. Might have opened a bank account. So for all these documents, what you basically require, for all these processes, what you basically require are a set of documents. These documents can be your Aadhaar card, your PAN card, it can be your bank statements, it can be letters where you do your manual signatures, it can be checks, it can be your, if you're taking a car loan, it can be the car documents, if you're taking a home loan, it can be your home documents. All these documents are being collected, and then there is a process that runs in the backend that analyzes these documents, extracts certain information out of it, validates it whether the document that you have submitted is not fraud or are not forged. And once that is done, that is where the next step takes place, which is, let's say, the loan gets granted or your account gets opened. So this journey, I think all of us have went through in some way or the other. Now, what exactly is the problem? The problem is currently a lot of this process is manual, where some of it is automated, but a lot of it is manual, where extracting information or giving certain kind of approvals can take days, or for bigger transactions, it can take few weeks. And as soon as you add human to the loop, that is where it leads to errors. Again, as soon as error comes in, because we all come from the financial background, there is a huge risk for frauds. There is a huge risk for compliances. And because it is slow, there are error prones. It comes with a cost. Humans come with a cost. So there is an efficiency that we work on to, and humans are expensive. So what do we do with it? We take this manual chaos into something called as an autonomous agentic workflow and try to solve it with that. So everyone with me with the problem statement? Yeah. So now let's try to understand how do we do about it. For that, let's understand what are agents. Think agent as your personal assistant that pretty much collects data. It works in a confined environment, collects data. It knows the task that it needs to do. Then it devises a plan and executes that plan. Let's try to understand agent with an example. So Diwali is coming up. A lot of us are going on leave. Amazon Prime has huge catalog of videos, movies, TV shows. So what command I give to my agent is, okay, I need to suggest some movies to my users. So now this is the end task that has been given. So now what the agent will figure out is, okay, what all information do I have? And based on that, it will devise a certain set of steps that it needs to take in order to achieve the goal. So let's say the first step is, okay, I say I need to suggest some movies. So I need to understand what are my users. So the agent says, okay, now fetch me the user. That is where the step one comes in, where it extracts the user information, then the next step it extracts is the user persona or the customer persona, where, for example, I like sci-fi movies, Ekta likes horror movies, somebody else likes, let's say, rom-com, romantic or comedy movies. Based on the likings, it extracts the user persona. So this is the next step. Then what agents figure out is, okay, what I know is my users, their likings. Now let me understand what the catalog I have. Then it extracts the movie information, the TV show information, the metadata of it, like, whether it belongs to a certain set of genre, or this is the kind of plot it has. And then the LLM figures out, okay, these are my users, this is the movies that I have. This certain set of users prefer this kind of movies, this certain set of users prefer that kind of movies or that kind of TV shows. And then based on that, what it does is it starts recommending it. And in the end, once I have the whole mapping in place, what I do is the agent pretty much sends out an email. It can be an email. Over here, it's an email. It can be on your dashboard, what you see as a recommended feed. And everything is fully autonomous. What you just said is, all I need is I want to recommend movies to my users. And the rest, each of these steps is something the agent decides. So how do we achieve that? So that is where the amazing toolkit of Amazon comes in, which is Amazon Bedrock, where it provides us with 4 major components. One is agent, knowledge base, guardrails, and action groups. Agents are basically the smart assistant that interact. Knowledge bases is the information that is used by the agent. Initially, when I defined agent, it was collecting some kind of a data. In our example, it was collecting the user information. It was collecting the movie information, the TV show information. That is where the knowledge base comes in. Guardrails are set of restrictions that you place in on your agent to give a very structured output. It is more towards confining your agent on the input it receives and the output it gives. And finally, the action group is the set of functionalities that your agent can call. Over here, it was sending out an email. It was fetching information of the user. It was fetching information about the movies. So what is AWS Bedrock? AWS Bedrock is the most easiest way to build scalable generative AI applications. What it allows is model customization, retrieval augmented generation. Basically, you query a database, you get some information back from it. It can execute multiple steps, where over here, the whole journey that I showed was divided in multiple steps, where I fetch the user information, I fetch the movie information, I send out an email or show it on the dashboard. It is very secure and safe. So we understand the problem statement, we understand the tools that we have. Now the solution part. So for that, I would like to invite my co-speaker Ekta, who will walk you through the solution.
Okay guys, so till now what we know about is all about Agentic AI and how we can really implement it or work around with it, right? Now let's try to see how we can actually productionize this, how we can put this into a working example to work around. So as we understood that the problem is all about dealing with these financial documents, which are large in number, right? And complex in nature, because they would be present in all kinds of formats possible. So if you think about it from an eKYC perspective, just think about it that you have to open an account in an XYZ bank, which is like a regular process that you would go through if you want to open a new account, right? Now you don't really need to go to the bank. The advantage that we have over here is that eKYC systems are already in place and you can use that system to open a bank in a few minutes, as some of you would have already experienced. Now in that case, what really happens? They do require some set of documents as they used to earlier, right? Now when it comes to documents, what kind of documents do we provide to these systems? PAN card, Aadhaar card, passport, bank statements if required. So these are some documents which you would work with. Now they come in different formats. One is PDF, Excel, Word, any kind of images, and as well as scanned images. These could be present in any such formats, right? Now, the advantage that we are getting with Agentic AI workflows is that you can work with these documents in a much more easier way. So as Shubham mentioned, that AWS Bedrock is one such service which enables you to do these things very easily. So we'll talk about something which is called as an agentic workflow, which is the term which is prevalent today in 2025 and something that everybody is using around. So with agentic workflow, what we are trying to do is not just extract the important information from our data, but trying to use it in such a way that it's automated and you are getting the end output directly after decision making. We'll see a sample workflow and I'll walk you through the demo also that we've created to show you how we are going to be utilizing these services. So each agent that we are going to be having in this workflow is designed for a specific purpose, for a specific task. So as we mentioned that we would be taking in documents like PAN cards or Aadhaar card, what we need from that is the extracted information, that is your name, your date of birth, then comes your PAN card number, right? These are the major information data points that we need. So extraction is one such role which would be needed for the agent. Then the next task would be to validate it, to check whether the information that has been extracted is correct or not. In a lot of places today, like if we are using the traditional OCR models, we do not have that validation layer, right? Like you get the output from there and humans would be involved in validating that. So the second task is about validation, which we are going to be doing through Bedrock agents. And then the decision factor comes in, where you have a branching factor where you decide whether the information present is right or not, and you go ahead with the eKYC process. So this entire orchestration will also be done by a tool. So the power combo that we are using over here, first of all, is the AWS Extract engine, which will extract all the information from your documents. Next, what we have is the Amazon Bedrock agents. So Bedrock, as he mentioned, that it's an LLM-based model provider, which will help you to typically hit the API and get you information for the prompt that you really wanted to hit on. And agents are nothing but the automation of the entire process of this LLM-based information gathering. Then the third step that we have is nothing but AWS step functions. What are they? They are workflow orchestrators, which will help us to automate our multi-step workflow that we have. So now let's go ahead and understand how we are going to automate this KYC bundle. So I've given you a little bit of gist of how things are going to be working at the background. So our goal is to fully automate the intake, the validation, as well as the routing of these documents that we'll be working with. So first of all, we want to ingest the documents from S3. Next, what we want to do is extract all the text and data, say the name, date of birth, account number, balance, whatever are the important metrics with regards to every document that we are trying to feed in. Next, we have validation of data. So which means that is the passport valid for greater than 6 months? That is a clause that we need, right? So that we can say that this document is good to go ahead. And next, we decide an act. That is, we as humans have always been the decision makers who will decide that, okay, we want to pass this to a CRM or a flag for a human review. So that is where the HITL layer comes into picture, which is nothing but human in the loop, which will ensure that we are not giving in results which are totally off the hook. So the first block that we are going to be working with here is these intelligent agents, which is first one is the extractor. So the extractor will use textract to pull the structured data from your unstructured data. So since we know that PDFs or any such kind of a format is nothing but unstructured data, right? So we'll be pulling in that structured data from this unstructured data. That is our extractor. That is what we've defined it as. Next, what we have is the validator, which is nothing but your Bedrock agent, which will apply some business logic and validate whether the data that has been extracted is in lieu of what we really wanted to see or what we were really expecting. So at the end, at the back end, we are all calling APIs to be able to validate this. The key concept over here is that you should be able to design agents for specific tasks and chain them together to create an automation pipeline. This is not taking away your jobs from manual perspective, but it's helping you aid in better information gathering and in terms of validation of data in a better way. So that is why these agents are really easing your job. Now I'll show you how we really go ahead with textract. So the video will just come up on the screen. So what happens in this video is basically we are trying to fetch in data from an S3 bucket where we've created a document which is a PAN card data, and you are trying to feed in data from it to textract, and textract will totally extract all the information that it needs from that particular document, which could be name, date of birth, PAN card, and so on, the PAN card number itself. That is nothing but the extractor that we have. And the next one, okay, this has come up. So you go to the Amazon Textract console page that you see, then you click on Analyze Document. Now when you look at this particular workflow, you will see that there is an option to just feed in the data that you need, which is like choosing your sample document, like whether you want to process a particular kind of a document which has been required over here, or you can directly upload the document that you'd want to work with. So over here, if you see, you can just directly use this particular data. So I've created this data specifically for this demo. I have not used any proprietary data because we all know how financial documents are very important to us and we don't really want to compromise on their security. So this is the data, that the file that we have. Now this file has been sent into textract, and what will textract do is that you have selected forms over there, and when you click on that apply button, what it will extract is the name of the person, the date of birth, and the PAN card associated with it. It of course takes its time to be able to process that at the back end. Now we all know that what is there at the back end. At the back end, it is nothing but these OCR models which are able to get us all of this data. So this is nothing but your extractor. Now next, what we'll go to is the validator. So the validator is something which is created by using a feature which has been released by AWS, which is Bedrock agents. So till now, we've all used Bedrock since the time, LLM models have come into play, and we've done some prompt engineering, played around with prompts and so on. But now what we are going to be looking at is nothing but how we can automate this workflow. So how does the agent really work at the back end? So the agent will require certain prompt, which you will feed to it in a certain format, so that it will validate whether the information that is provided to you can be used or not. So now we have gone to Bedrock and we have clicked on agent, and what we are trying to feed it in is the name of the agent that we want to create. Once it has created this agent, you can provide it the description that you want. You can provide it the corresponding IAM role that you'd want it to access to. Now here you need to mention the prompt. So the prompt that I mentioned is you are a financial compliance validator, and the input that you're going to give it is the JSON extracted. You are asking it to check if the name, date of birth, PAN card and everything is correct or not. Verify the format, and then we are saying that return the format that you'd want to, also in a JSON format. I think it's not completely visible, but we can share this with anybody who's really interested to know about how to go about doing this. But that is the prompt that you feed it in, and on the right hand side you can see there is a feature which is called as a test feature. So in the test feature, you can really feed it in the JSON information that you're getting from Textract and feed it in here. What will happen is that you will be able to test it and see whether it's giving the right kind of output or not according to the prompt that you have created. So I'll just show you how the testing is done. Meanwhile, the video loads up. So we'll try to test the agent itself, how it's working. So here we can just enter the information that we get from Textract. So we had extracted certain JSON information from our document, right? And that is what is fed in over here. With the prompt that you suggested, it's saying that, okay, the KYC information provided is valid and all the required fields are there as is, as you had expected it to be. So this is nothing but how you design your extractor as well as your validator. Next, what we really want to do is stitch all of this together in an agentic workflow. So we will go ahead and do that. That is, we'll try to create an entire step function which will help us to stitch all of these things together one after the other. First step is the extractor, second step is the validator, and then we'll go ahead with stitching it via this workflow automation. So this is the step functions. AWS step functions itself is the orchestrator which helps you to join all of these steps together. What it handles first of all is sequencing. It runs your agents that you've created in the right order. And the next thing that it helps you to do is error handling. So if an agent fails, what to really do? The fail-safe mechanism is also something that you can provide to it. Next, the branching logic, like you are the agent who has been given the authority to be able to make decisions. Like if the balance is greater than X, then approve else flag. So it's nothing but giving it as a flag to the user. So then you can, how does the agentic flow work? It uses Lambda functions at the backend, which is going to use your Textract API, which is going to use your Bedrock agent API at the backend to connect all these dots together. So you can integrate it in that manner and create a working prototype in very less time to be able to show this to anybody who you'd want to work with. Now, we will try and show you this workflow, how we can create that, which is reliable and easy to debug. So this is the workflow that we want to show you. And there is an architecture step also, which we have tried to create over here. So you go to step functions, and then you select create state machine. And this state machine will be given an associated name over here. You can decide whatever name you want to keep for that state machine. It's just playing up. And you'll be able to see how you can decide what kind of data you're getting and how it will really work. So this is the state machine that I've created, which is called as my KYC bundle. Now this is the first one that I've created. Now you'll be able to see the flow. So the first step is all about extracting with Textract. Then comes your validator steps, and then you have the decision-making steps. So here, first of all, you need to give it the document that you have stored. So there is a document, the same document, a similar document has been stored in your S3 bucket. And this S3 bucket is given in as an input to this particular workflow. And you will see that this is the output that it has generated. So it has been able to extract the name, the information that it needs. And then you feed that to your Bedrock validate step, which will use in all of this information and say whether the information is true or false. So it has seen that you can see that the output that is generated is false because it has not been able to generate the date of birth and the other things. This has run in a little fast format, but I can tell you in detail that it can really show you how to take decisions also at the end, because this particular step that you have over here, this valid step itself will decide whether you should go ahead with this document directly or it requires a manual review. And if you have a manual review, that will be nothing but your HITL layer, your human, who will validate this at the back end. So most of your step is automated, which is up to 90%. What you will need to do is, if there is a valid false flag associated with the document, then you can put it out, flag it out, and get that particular document validated through a human to take it forward. So this was typically the workflow. Shubham, can you go to the next slide? So this kind of a workflow can be created for any kind of documents that you would have in your system. You can even work this around with scanned images. I've tried with scanned images also. So you know, right, like we click images with our phone and we feed that to our document systems wherever they are. So these scanned images are also something very difficult to work with because they're pixelated values, and where the information is correctly present is not determined clearly. So, but these models which are already present in AWS, Bedrock and Extract can help you to do this, that is, can help you to get the right information that is needed for you from model perspective specifically. So you can typically use this kind of an ecosystem to get your documents processed. And next, when you look at services like Bedrock, it gives you a wide plethora of models which we have, right? Like, you know that there is the Amazon title model, which is a trademark AWS model. But it also gives you the capability to be able to work with open source models. Like Anthropic's, Claude and everything is also something which can be utilized. So the next block that we would want to talk about, the last block, is about security and compliance. And why are we using this AWS architecture? Because it's comparatively more secure in comparison to the other architectures that you would use. So first of all, in terms of data protection, encryption is something which can be managed very easily with the KMS system that we have. And then PII is a major issue when it comes to financial ecosystems, right? Working around with it. So no data is stored unnecessarily. Like if you are really protective about your data, Textract itself does not store data at the backend. So that gives you a sense of security, which is very easy to work with. Then there are fine-grained IAM roles for each and every service. And then AWS CloudTrail logs is there for each and every API call. So every agent decision and data point is totally traceable, because in the finance world, we need everything that is interpretable and compliance oriented. So that's why we can go ahead with this kind of a perspective. Now, what is the real world impact that we can drive with this kind of a use case, and how you yourself can be enablers and get started with this kind of a workflow that you'd want to implement? So, of course, faster processing is a one major advantage that we get, that a person would have to spend so much time trying to validate all of this information at the back end. Instead of that, 50 to 70% of faster processing time is achieved very easily. Next, in terms of manual reviews also, the number of manual reviews will reduce, which is lesser than 50, like it will be lesser than 50%. Very few documents will have to go to the invalid phase, and the human will have to validate it. Then you'll have complete compliance-oriented framework, because you will have audit trails which can be generated up to 100%. Now, if you have to start today, how can you? You can identify one such high processing document relevant process in your system, and you can try to work around a path or a workflow which you can use around this, and create an orchestration path for you, and then leverage all the AWS ecosystem that you have, which is very easily adoptable. So you can start with the AWS starter templates and prototypes and work around this. So thank you. This was what we really wanted to talk about. And if you really want to connect with either of us, here are our LinkedIn QR codes if you'd want to ask any question related to any use case that we are working on or anything. And we are opening the floor to questions if you all have any questions.